Literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're going to show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're going to show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're going to show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, it's true. They're like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're going to change things? I was like,
we want it to go well.
I literally brought the movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder, like a disc, like a hard drive.
Hollywood is no stranger to colossal scandals, but this one might just eclipse them all. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, once regarded as a golden couple of the industry, now find themselves at the center of a dizzying legal storm. A shocking $400 million lawsuit is tearing at their reputations, unearthing allegations of sabotage, toxic behavior, and professional betrayal. On the other side stands director Justin Baldoni, who claims he has lost everything: his deals, his credibility, and his future, because of Blake's dramatic power plays. The more each side exposes, the uglier this battle becomes, and it's starting to look like neither party will escape unscathed. Think you know who's at fault? You might want to hold that judgment. What you're about to hear will challenge any simple narrative of hero versus villain. In a crisis this massive, every detail is critical, and the stakes grow higher with every passing day. Buckle up, because we're diving into the heart of a Hollywood scandal so explosive it might just redefine the balance of power in Tinseltown. This legal chaos exploded around the film adaptation of Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us, a novel that deals with the deeply personal topic of domestic violence. Fans initially expected a thought-provoking, respectful portrayal of a painful issue. Blake Lively, with her stylish Instagram posts and perky interviews, seemed determined to prove she was the perfect choice for the lead. From the outside, it all looked promising, until quite suddenly it turned into a nightmare. Early rumors whispered that Sony and Wayfarer Productions, Justin Baldoni's company, had disagreements about the film's creative direction. First, these rumblings seemed minor, but behind the scenes it was total chaos. Blake allegedly insisted on controlling marketing, wardrobe, and even final edits. Meanwhile, Justin was losing his grip on his own movie. Tempers flared, deals fell apart, and the entire production got caught in a tornado of conflicting visions. When the first trailer landed, fans didn't just raise eyebrows, they were furious.
It was the stylist, the costume designer on Gossip Girl. But anyone who works with me,
I love that.
it's like drinking through a fire hose. You're like, wow, I come in and I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. But it's just because I really I find that fashion is storytelling. It's a way to message so much more than you can with words. Sometimes it's a silent way to message things. So the way that I come into a character is always through the fashion and through the costumes. So
saw in another interview you said that Ryan, actually your husband Ryan Reynolds, wrote part of that rooftop scene.
No,
is that
he did.
true?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I would have to compare it to the original one, but that's 99% his. Yeah, he just added, Chrissy Hall wrote an incredible screenplay. It was, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this film, but also, there are natural tweaks and modifications that come in when the actor is hired and you're trying to infuse your own personality and your own authenticity. And it's like, women are people of multitudes. And, I think that it was important to me that it didn't just feel like someone's interpretation of like female gaze. Like it really was, this is what we like, this is what we listen to, this is what makes us feel these vibes. And we had an incredible music supervisor, Season Kent, and one of our editors, Shane Reed, who, fun fact, he was my editor on Taylor's music video that I directed. And I was obsessed with him. And I was like, this guy is amazing. And he never edited a movie before. He just finished Deadpool and Wolverine, and he came on and helped us with this one. And he has incredible taste in music. And we share the same composer as well from Deadpool and Wolverine. So there's a lot. The
promotional angle felt off, almost dismissive, toward the book's difficult themes. Instead of addressing the heavy subject matter, Blake was promoting her personal projects, her hair care line, an alcohol brand, and a denim company. Suddenly, the focus shifted from a serious discussion about domestic violence to a glitzy swirl of new product launches. Outrage bubbled online, fueling speculation that the entire team had grossly misunderstood the story's core message. Then came the big blow, a $400 million lawsuit naming both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Questions erupted. How could a lawsuit this massive arise from a single film? And why was Ryan, an A-lister beloved for his quick wit and comedic roles, tangled up in this fiasco? As the court documents trickled out, people saw that the stakes went far beyond a mere clash of personalities. Money, power, reputation, all were on the line. That was only the beginning. The next chain of revelations exposed a convoluted web of accusations, each side insisting that they too were victims of a smear campaign. Everything boiled down to one question: who was telling the truth? Blake Lively, once adored for her bubbly charm, had been riding a wave of success for years. But behind her immaculate red carpet appearances, critics began describing a ruthless streak, especially when she was invested in a project. According to multiple insiders, she pulled rank on the It Ends With Us set, inserting her creative control in places she wasn't authorized to do so. Justin Baldoni, who had championed the film since the beginning, found himself sidelined. He had co-produced, co-financed, and directed, only to realize his authority was slipping away. He had already proven himself with heartfelt projects in the past, earning a reputation for integrity and compassion, so the sudden pivot shocked his fans. How did he go from being the central figure to the scapegoat, losing everything? As tension thickened, rumors surfaced that Blake confronted Justin about alleged misconduct on set. She insisted that the environment felt hostile, that lines were crossed, and that production was veering into chaos. Simultaneously, Justin's camp argued that if any toxic behavior was present, it was the result of Blake's unstoppable push for complete creative control. They accused her of rewriting entire scenes without approval, overruling the original costume budget, and presenting a rough cut of the film to the public before it was even finalized. But that wasn't all. In a surprising twist, Justin's team claimed that Blake's accusations were strategy, pure and simple, a ploy to justify her takeover and gain the legal high ground. Allegedly, the moment Justin tried to rein her in, she amped up claims of a toxic environment, placing all blame for production woes on him and his team. These allegations, if proven false, could land Blake in even deeper legal trouble. Meanwhile, fans and onlookers were torn, left to wonder whether Blake had legitimate grievances or if Justin was simply her convenient scapegoat. No one expected the story to balloon into an all-out legal war. Justin Baldoni's downfall didn't happen overnight. It came like a slow-motion car crash. After the first wave of negative press, everything he'd built, his brand partnerships, his long-standing podcast projects, even his agent, fell apart. One day, he was a respected figure recognized for uplifting stories. The next, he was persona non grata. With each new accusation from Blake, Justin's attempts to defend himself appeared to backfire. He publicly refuted claims of misconduct, but the court of public opinion had already turned suspicious. Then, an unexpected development shifted momentum. Evidence started trickling out from Justin's legal team, emails, texts, internal memos, timelines, suggesting that Blake was orchestrating a well-planned smear campaign against him. According to Justin's lawyers, the real reason behind the meltdown was control. They alleged that Blake wanted to wrest ownership of It Ends With Us away from Wayfarer Productions so she and Ryan could dominate the film's sequel and any related spin-offs. That meant painting Justin as an abusive, problematic director, then so be it. Ryan Reynolds, known for his witty social media persona, mostly stayed quiet at first. But leaked text messages seemed to show him actively discussing ways to reshape the narrative, including the possibility of early apology statements. It looked like a carefully orchestrated PR strategy to ensure that, if the public turned against It Ends With Us, Justin would bear the brunt of the backlash. Sensing a final chance to salvage his reputation, Justin doubled down. He filed countersuits, demanded full disclosure of communications, and refused to stay silent. Websites popped up, revealing timelines and behind-the-scenes photos purporting to prove that Blake had indeed overstepped. Suddenly, the question wasn't whether Justin was guilty, but whether the entire fiasco was a power grab gone terribly wrong. As lawsuits flew in all directions, Blake's legal team tried a bold maneuver. They requested a gag order. They argued that Justin's attorney, Brian Fredman, was conducting a media trial, dumping evidence into the public sphere to poison potential jurors. Blake's lawyers insisted that the court had to intervene, or her reputation would be shredded before she ever saw a day in trial. But gag orders in federal court aren't easy to come by, especially when the public has the right to access information about major disputes. The judge refused to muzzle Justin's team, pointing out that these were public legal filings, not secret documents stolen from personal computers. If Blake wanted a protective order, she'd have to prove that Justin was spreading falsehoods. Simply damaging her image wasn't enough. Tension escalated in the courtroom. Blake's lawyers blasted Fredman for allegedly using the press to wage a smear campaign. Fredman countered, accusing Blake's camp of leaking confidential documents first and feeding stories to the New York Times to destroy Justin's career. Instead of clarifying the situation, each accusation only ignited more confusion and fury. Fans of both Blake and Justin mirrored this division. One side insisted that a woman's claims of toxic behavior should never be dismissed. The other side, however, pointed out that women can be perpetrators too, orchestrating elaborate schemes for personal gain. Social media became a battlefield, with trending hashtags that tried to pick apart every rumor and half-baked story floating around. But if Blake thought she could shield herself from intense questioning, the judge had another surprise. Despite all efforts, she would have to face a thorough deposition by Fredman, the very attorney she declared biased and hostile. That meant no one would filter the questions she had to answer under oath, and any slip could be used against her. Even before the gag order fiasco, Blake's marketing choices raised countless eyebrows. Instead of focusing on the emotional depth of It Ends With Us, she bombarded her social media channels with promotions for her personal ventures. Critics said it was tone-deaf, that she trivialized the book's delicate subject matter by blasting comedic behind-the-scenes photos and playful brand endorsements. When the fan community noticed the dissonance, anger boiled over. People asked how anyone could exploit serious themes like intimate partner violence for a publicity stunt. Blake, however, brushed off the criticisms. She even tried to jokingly reference certain creative liberties in interviews, as though it was all just part of the show. Realizing the backlash wasn't fading, Blake and Ryan allegedly concocted a plan to shift blame. Court filings revealed an apology statement they drafted on Justin Baldoni's behalf, trying to make him assume responsibility for the negative press. In that statement, Justin and his production team would own any lapses in sensitivity or professionalism, offering a broad apology while painting the cast as pristine saints. But Justin refused to sign. The apology placed all the guilt on him, ignoring the fact that Blake had been the one discussing the film like it was a cozy night out instead of a harrowing exploration of abuse. With that refusal, the quiet tension between the two sides erupted into a full-scale war. Then came the New York Times piece, an article that, according to Justin, ran with incomplete information while portraying him as the sole villain of the production. Overnight, he lost his agent, his podcast deals, and even his future film projects. Blake, meanwhile, managed to sidestep most direct blame, keeping her brand endorsements intact. The situation reeked of calculated maneuvering, and many began to suspect that she had fed the paper a curated version of events. At this point, it wasn't just one lawsuit. Both Blake and Justin had filed claims against each other, and Ryan was caught in the crossfire. Allegations piled up, from toxic work environment to intentional defamation. Documents detailing every misstep, email, text, and phone call circulated online, fueling near-daily coverage in entertainment outlets. The key sticking point was the swirl of contradictory statements about how filming was actually conducted. Blake claimed she felt threatened and uncomfortable, yet multiple cast and crew members said they never saw or heard any complaints until months later, long after filming had wrapped. She insisted she had every right to step in as an executive producer, while Justin's side argued that she exploited her vanity title to bulldoze the real production team. The litigation also revealed a bizarre detail. Blake allegedly took an unfinished cut of the film, against direct orders not to, and presented it at a private event, presumably to drum up hype. This blatant disregard for official protocols infuriated Wayfarer Productions, which worried about leaks, piracy, or negative early buzz. Yet Blake seemed convinced she was doing the right thing, showcasing her own creativity rather than respecting industry norms. As each accusation and countersuit landed, observers wondered how far it would go. Would the entire film get shelved indefinitely? Would the controversy lead to reshoots or a recasting? And above all, would the brand new sequel, It Starts With Us, ever see the light of day? With hundreds of millions of dollars tied up in potential releases, neither side could afford to budge. Hollywood's reaction was swift and brutal. Some insiders quietly cut ties with both parties, fearful that picking a side might torpedo their own careers. A few studios that had been open to future collaborations with Blake or Justin suddenly went radio silent, not wanting to invest in anything plagued by scandal. For Blake, the damage had already begun. Even if she survived the legal drama, producers worried she might be too polarizing to cast in family-friendly or serious roles. After all, It Ends With Us was supposed to showcase her range as an actress tackling a serious subject. Yet the controversy had turned it into a cautionary tale for how not to handle sensitive material. For Justin, the wounds ran even deeper. He had always championed positive storytelling, priding himself on heartfelt projects that gave audiences room to empathize. Now he was labeled difficult, manipulative, or worse, accusations he insisted were planted. The possibility of being blacklisted haunted him, and he fought hard to salvage any thread of credibility he had left. Ryan Reynolds, tangled in the fiasco by default, found his easygoing public persona threatened by endless coverage linking him to the legal mess. Fans once cherished his witty social media banter, but cracks in that facade started to appear as he struggled to address the swirling rumors. Could his brand partnerships and comedic roles stand strong if the court battle painted him as complicit in a ruthless power move? Overall, the star power of Blake and Ryan began to dim, overshadowed by the relentless negativity. Meanwhile, Justin's career hovered on the edge of collapse, prompting calls for justice by those who believed he was the real victim. When federal court set the schedule for depositions, Blake tried to dodge a direct interrogation by Brian Fredman, Justin's attorney. She claimed Fredman had publicly slandered her, painting him as a biased questioner who couldn't fairly do his job. But in a lawsuit of this magnitude, you don't get to pick a friendlier questioner. The judge made it clear that Blake had to sit for the deposition, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. She would face a battery of questions, forced to clarify every contradictory statement and piece of evidence she'd provided. For the first time, she'd have nowhere to hide. Fans, journalists, and legal analysts waited for this day with bated breath. Would we finally see Blake's side under a harsh spotlight? And if so, could she offer a convincing explanation for the mounting inconsistencies in her story? Perhaps she'd turn the tables yet again. Or maybe Fredman would deliver a string of new bombshells that would leave her reeling. Adding yet another layer of drama, rumors circulated that Ryan was strategizing behind the scenes, exploring private settlements to avoid an embarrassing public grilling. But as Justin's side had lost so many deals and suffered irreversible damage, they seemed less inclined to settle quietly. The entire fiasco was set on a collision course, and the depositions were the next major milestone. By now, nearly everyone following the case had heard about the apology statement that Blake and Ryan tried to force on Justin. If you're as captivated by these twists and turns as we are, stick around. More revelations are undoubtedly on the horizon, and you won't want to miss what happens next in one of Hollywood's most jaw-dropping legal battles. Feel free to share your thoughts below. Are you Team Blake, Team Justin, or just here for the headlines? Let's keep the conversation going.